I'm Elizabeth Parsons, and I'm a general pediatrician. I have a family. I have a 6-year-old and an almost 4-year-old. We really enjoy hiking and mountain biking and hanging out with our dogs, playing in the yard, all the typical things that a lot of families like to do. A rear-facing car seat is extremely important, especially for infants. And the American Academy of Pediatrics has actually given more guidance about infants being rear-facing actually as long as possible. And that serves a lot of reasons. If you think about the velocity or the force of velocity that would occur with a motor vehicle accident, how much strain that puts on your neck and your spinal cord, infants are at extreme risk of being injured if they were in that situation. So putting them in a rear-facing car seat provides a supportive backing to help support their spine, their neck, and in general their body against those forces. And so that's why we recommend infants be rear-facing. And even though the law says that they should be rear-facing until at least 20 pounds and a year of age, being rear-facing as long as the car seat allows is actually the safest way for the infant to ride. And a lot of car seats now allow children to rear face for pretty extended periods of time. So if you look at a lot of the car seats that are available, once a child even graduates out of an infant carrier, there are convertible car seats that can rear face for some children up to 40 pounds, depending on the model of car seat that you buy. And so the longer the child is rear facing in the car, the safer it is for them. So a child can be turned front-facing according to Idaho law once they are over a year of age and over 20 pounds. Rear-facing is considered to be the safest way to ride in a car, and as far as reducing morbidity or mortality or risk of injury in a motor vehicle accident, having a child rear face as long as the car seat allows is preferable. A lot of parents are really concerned that when they rear face their child that they have to crunch up their knees and that their knees are kind of pushed against the back of the seat. But unlike when an adult is sitting on the front seat, for example, and they have their feet crunched up on the dashboard, having your feet crunched up against the back of a seat is not at risk for increasing injury to that child. And so even though it may look a little uncomfortable to the parent, it usually really isn't that extremely uncomfortable to the child. And in exchange for that, you're prolonging their safety. And so as long as that car seat is allowing them to rear face according to the weight limit and the height limit of the manufacturer, then we do recommend that you try to keep them rear facing as long as you can. So is height or weight more important when determining which car seat to use? Actually, what matters the most is that you're following the guidelines that are printed and recommended on the car seat that you buy. So there's multiple types of car seats that are available on the market. There are the ones that you see a lot of times infants being carried around in. So those are called the infant carriers. A lot of times those will snap into a base into the car. And most of those kids will graduate out of when they're around 30 pounds. Some are a little more, some are a little less. But they have both height and weight printed on the side. And so you want to make sure that you're following the guidelines that are made by the manufacturer of the seat. Once an infant outgrows that carrier, then the next type of car seat that most parents buy is what's called a convertible car seat. And most families think that when they get a convertible car seat, they can only get one that is forward-facing, but most of them actually rear face to a certain height or weight and then can be turned around and also positioned in a forward-facing position. So specific height or weight when you're picking out the car seat really isn't that important. What's really important is that you pick out a car seat that is approved, and also that you're putting the child in a car seat that meets their minimum standard of what's printed on the side. So the recommendation for a child being in a booster seat as far as minimum is that they have to be 4'9" and 8 years old to get or graduate out of a booster seat. But that doesn't mean that if your child is 4'9" or they're over 8 years old that you have to take them immediately out of the booster seat. A lot of booster seats will accommodate older children and larger children up until age 12 oftentimes. And so The most important thing when you're looking at a booster seat and taking your child out of that booster seat is if they're uncomfortable in it, there's no need to rush to take them out of it. But the second thing is that when you're positioning them, you want to make sure that that strap that comes along, when you're putting them in the belt, that belt is appropriately positioned right at this collarbone line. If you have it kind of high up here on the neck, or if it's too low, then it's not going to be protective enough for your child. And so a booster seat helps accommodate that better for children. And so just because a child might meet the minimum standard requirements, you want to make sure that when you're looking at them in the car seat or in the booster seat, that it actually fits. So we recommend that children do not ride in the front seat of a car until they're 13 years old. Certain cars do not accommodate that well. For example, a pickup truck, that doesn't have a crew cab. Maybe a child is not going to be able to ride in that car until they're 13. So we say try to do the best you can. If you have a child that there is no other position in the car because the number of children or whatnot, or you have a pickup that doesn't have a back seat in it, for example, then make sure the child is in the appropriate seat, such as a booster or a car seat. But in general, if there's any other option other than the front seat, the back seat is always safest. So is one car seat better than another? So no. So car seats have to meet minimum standards to be put on the market, and those minimum standards are developed by an organization run by the Department of Transportation. And so there are lots of different varieties of car seats out there. You can get basic models that are sold at Costco, for example, for modest amount of money, and you can spend thousands of dollars on very fancy models of car seats. But in general, as long as the car seat is sold on the market and is not expired, then it is considered fully safe to use. And really what you're paying for when you buy a higher end model is maybe convenience of use or more versatility. For example, some of the car seats convert from, convertible seats to booster seats and things like that. But in general, as long as it is sold on the market, it should be safe for your child. So in most cities, you can often find places for children to be checked for safety in their car seats at either the fire department or local police departments. And usually I recommend that parents call before they go. Sometimes they do them on certain days of the week, or they want you to go to a certain location. But most fire and police departments have that service available to the public. So you should get a new car seat once your child has either outgrown the height, the weight of the car seat, or if the car seat is expired. The other reason to get a new car seat would be if it has already been in a motor vehicle crash. So if a car seat has been through the trauma of a crash, it's considered voided or invalid, and we recommend getting a new seat after that. Is there anything wrong with getting a used car seat? Maybe is the answer to that. I definitely have families that reuse car seats for multiple children because the car seat is not expired and in good condition. And I think that that's completely acceptable. Car seats can be a big expense for a family, especially if you have multiple children. I would say if you know the person that you're buying the car seat from, it's in good condition and it's not expired, and you can verify from that family that has never been in a motor vehicle crash, then it probably is okay to buy a used car seat. But in general, it's really hard when you're buying from, for example, from the Facebook Marketplace or somewhere like that, to guarantee that you're buying a car seat that meets those qualifications to be safe. So one of the things that I think is a really common question that parents ask me is, what do I do if my infant slouches in the car seat? I'm really worried that my infant's head is malpositioned, or they're laying to the side, or their chin is getting obstructed in some way when they're laying inside of this car seat. And so what is a safe way that I can protect my baby lying in the car seat. And the American Academy of Pediatrics actually does address that, and you can see some of the things I've answered today and more on their website, healthychildren.org, under car seat safety. And it shows pictures and examples, but one of the things that you can do for an infant is you can take a receiving blanket or something similar and roll it up tightly and use it like a support bar on either side of the baby's head in order to kind of help with slouching. You can also do the same between their legs, as long as you're not obstructing the buckling of the seat, to kind of help support their upper body, and that is considered safe and okay to do. What is not considered safe and okay to do in this situation is to buy foam inserts that are not made for the car seat, or ones that might obstruct their head, and things like that. You want to make sure that what you're doing is usually just a receiving blanket or something like that to help support the child. So we answer lots of questions at well child check. So a lot of parents wonder, what is the benefit of coming to a well check if your child is not getting immunizations? Well, answering questions about car seats or growth and development, these are all really important topics that we discuss in typical well care for children when you come into the office. And so we would love to serve you here at the Pocatello Children's Clinic, and are available 24/7 for your needs.